Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning or early evening. Won't you share with a friend or two? Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you and many more. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Daring Dialogue. I am your host, Shantae Charles. Today is Get Free Friday. For those of you who may be with us for the first time, I want to say welcome. We are broadcasting live simultaneously on IG as well as on our YouTube channel. If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, it is Life Nation KC. You can follow us there and hit the notification button, and you'll know when we go live. And if you're on YouTube and you want to subscribe to our IG, you can go to at Daring Dialogues, plural, all one word, and hit subscribe or like or follow there. Today we are back looking at Dennis Kimbrough's book, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. These are short affirmations and motivations around business, around success, and around life. So we're going to read this first, and then we're going to dive into Tina Turner, her next chapter in her book. October 4th, today is Do the Right Thing is the topic. Maynard Jackson, former mayor, Atlanta, Georgia. The real problem is not the bad guys, it is that the good guys have gone to sleep. Mm. Well, let's hope that everybody who has gone to sleep over the past few years wakes up in time for November. And the story reads, a young boy and his father were excited about Fan Appreciation Night. They wanted to get one of the souvenir baseballs that are thrown into the stands. Now, this is very interesting because a couple months ago I was at a baseball game and I was sitting right behind the dugout area where they throw those balls. And let me tell you, every time they threw one in my direction, I was ducking because I was like, um, they throw really fast. And so I was not trying to be standing up trying to catch nothing. Um, but people, of course, caught the balls. But I just thought that was interesting here. As they hurried toward their seats, they saw a man drop a $10 bill. Baseball. And when they throw baseballs into the stands for fans to catch them. As they hurried toward their seats, they saw a man drop a $10 bill. The boy picked up the money. Hey, mister, he said loudly. The man in front of him turned around. You dropped this. The boy handed him the money. Thank you, the man said. The boy returned to his father. Just as he and his dad reached their row, a ball came sailing toward their empty seats. A fan in the row behind reached forward and caught it. The little boy swallowed hard. I know, son, said his father, looking the boy straight in the eye, but you did the right thing. You missed the ball, but you gave him his money back. For his effort, the child will bring home a souvenir far more lasting and valuable than a baseball or a $10 bill. He will know the bittersweet feeling of making a sacrifice to do what is right. There is a power for good in the universe greater than you will ever know. You can use this power to transform your life whenever you wish. Today, ask yourself, what sacrifices have I made to do what is right? What sacrifices have I made to do what is right? Very good question and something to ponder on this here Friday. All right, let's get back into our reading. And for those of you who are new here, Daring Dialogues is a read aloud platform where we discuss every single day of the week different topics and different books. Today's book that we're going to be looking at is by Tina Turner. Happiness Becomes You, a guide to changing your life for good. So, if you like audiobooks, today I am your live audiobook reader. We're in chapter 6, and the title of the chapter is A Revolution of the Heart. A Revolution of the Heart. Sunlight streamed through the window, Tina writes, as I sip my morning tea. Crystal figurines on the table caught the light, scattering a cascade of colors across my wall. These rays of golden light had departed from the sun about 8 minutes earlier and traveled some 93 million miles to reach the room where I sat. In another moment or two, this precious spectacle would end, but I was and am thankful that the grand light show of our planet's beloved star will go on for billions of years to come. It's just another ordinary miracle we're fortunate to witness in this place we call Earth. For many years, nearly 2 decades in fact, I was blind to the beauty of simple wonders of nature. It was there all around me, of course. I had not left the planet, but in a way I felt as if I had left this world, as unhealthy influences had enveloped me like a fog. The beauty of the world had become unrecognizable to me. Symptoms of my negative karma dragged my life condition down so low that for me, basic existence was a chore. I had lost the joy of being alive. Life, in all its glorious yet subtle manifestations, is a priceless gift. Simple, unadorned life holds an abundant inheritance of hope from Mother Earth, the birthright of us all. I'm often reminded of Nichiren's words: life itself is the most precious of all treasures. Even one day, one extra day of life is worth more than 10 million coins of gold. Yet we can easily forget to appreciate the beauty of our lives when we are caught up in the hectic routines of work, school, or relationships. It can become even harder when we're faced with responsibilities, deadlines, bills, and people struggling to solve their own problems. At one time or another, many of us withdraw into our shell, hoping to protect ourselves from the discomforts of daily life, not to mention the greater challenges from the four universal sufferings of birth, sickness, aging, and death. Even if we don't hide in our shell, there's another familiar place we may retreat to, our comfort zone. In both cases, we are not challenging ourselves to grow. We have a saying in the Buddhist community: if you aren't moving forward, then you're actually going backward, because everything in the universe is always in flux. That means if you aren't striving to advance in some area of your life, watch out. You may be moving backward without even realizing it. That was the case with me before I started chanting, she says. I mistook material fortune, my fame, a nice home, designer clothes, expensive cars, for moving forward in life. What I eventually learned is that despite these outward trappings of success, I was actually moving backward in the only area that really matters: my inner life condition. This manifested in a number of ways. I lost interest in improving myself. Performing, which I had once loved, became a burden. I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like my voice. I didn't like doing interviews. I didn't like much of anything. The truth was, I didn't like me. That is until I discovered the powerfully freeing wisdom of human revolution. For the past 47 years, I've used this process of inner transformation to unlock the potential of my life. Too many revolutions throughout history have cost the lives of many people and brought misery to society. But human revolution is quite different. By revitalizing myself each day, my life condition improved and I moved forward within myself, even if just a step at a time. I achieved new heights of creativity and gained a new awareness of the sanctity of my own life and the lives of all around me. This is the best kind of revolution I can imagine. Now, I can definitely identify with what she's saying here. I think for me, over the past 12 years, I began to work on myself and do um, this sort of process, this internal work. And that work for me intensified around 2015 when I walked away from I took a definite break from teaching and educating. I had come out of a situation where um, I was literally being terrorized in my workspace, in my workplace. Um, I was dealing with racial microaggressions and racial macroaggressions to the point where it was breaking down my body physically. And I got to the point where I could no longer do my job, physically do my job. So I resigned because my body was in that bad of a condition that the work that was required of me, I was physically unable to do it. So I remember from 2015 to 2019, I took a break from going into a classroom. I took a break from teaching. I took a break from a lot of stuff. And I just focused on my wellness and I focused on getting better. I did a lot of reading during that time. I did a lot of praying during that time. I did a lot of meditating during that time. I did some journaling during that time. And I really took a step back and asked myself, what is it that I want out of my future? What is it that I want out of my career as a teacher, as an educator? Would I ever go back to it? And it wasn't because of students. It was literally because of administrative issues. It was because of, at the time where I was, it was racist in power. It was subtle threats that I would be targeted if I made any complaints about what I was experiencing or what was going on. So for me, that 4 year period was a period where I had to say, who am I outside of teaching? Who am I outside of my career? Who am I outside of any awards or any accolades or any pats on the back that I could get? Who was I outside of this thing that I had gone to school for and thought that I would be doing, for 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Now, I am still an educator. I'm just not an educator in my former context. Um, and I am much happier with where I am and the kind of courses and classes that I lead and teach. I get a chance to work with educators in different states. I get a chance to train teachers. I get a chance to help students to make it through their college prep. I get a chance to help students with testing. I get a chance to help write curriculum and correct curriculum. And I also get a chance to work with younger students and improve them in reading and writing. I also get a chance to teach art, visual art, to students. And then the most important part for me is I get a chance to work with students around the world globally. So those are some ways in which I didn't see myself teaching in those ways, but because I took the time to figure out what it was that I wanted, and also I took the time to deal with the trauma that I had endured, I came away from that time much more clearer about the kind of person I want to be, the kind of professional I want to be, the kind of educator I want to be, and the kind of legacy that I want to leave in education. So I can totally identify and resonate with her saying that she had to do a process of inner transformation, and nobody can do that process for you. During that time, I didn't have a lot of people around me. I didn't have a lot of people checking on me. I didn't have a lot of people saying, "Hey, are you okay?" I just didn't. It was almost like I was sort of in this cocooned space. And I think there was maybe one or two people I was communicating with at that time on a regular basis. During that time, I started Daring Dialogues, which is this platform of what we're doing here, because I wanted to encourage more people to dive into their own personal transformation. And I felt like one of the ways that you could do that is through books, because life changing ideas have always come to me through books. And so a part of the work that I started doing in 2016 is some of the work that I'm still doing now. Back to Tina. Human revolution is stable and internal. It is a revolution of the heart. It's the process of personal growth through challenges. What happens when we challenge ourselves to expand our capabilities? This most humane type of all revolutions helped me to break apart the hard outer shell of my egotistic lesser self and reveal my greater self, the self that exists within all of us. That greater self is the indestructible, eternal part of each of us that is capable of limitless wisdom, courage, and compassion. In my family's Baptist heritage, such a revolution of the heart is described as being born again. I've heard prominent Christian preachers tell the story of Jesus and his 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, which they say catalyzed his human revolution. Because when Jesus returned, he was transformed. Fortunately, we do not have to disappear in the desert for 40 days and nights to experience change. I found that human revolution doesn't have to be something extraordinary or even divorced from daily life. For example, let's say there's a high school girl who has never been an A student, but decides to challenge herself by taking subjects she finds difficult, like French. That girl was me. I knew I wouldn't be great at a foreign language, and I didn't need to take those classes, but I wanted to challenge my limitations. Or let's say there's a young woman who prefers to be a loner. Socializing in groups isn't comfortable for her, but she challenges herself by joining sports teams, social clubs, and volunteering to plan student events. That young lady was me too. I loved being alone more than anything when I was young. I could happily entertain myself all day long. But as high school approached, I sensed that standing on the sidelines would not help me much. So I made an effort to move out of my comfort zone. I joined the track team and the basketball team and became a cheerleader. I played basketball with my team, then rushed to change into my cheerleading outfit and came back out to lead the cheers. I also volunteered to organize school dances and other student activities. These are some of my earliest experiences with human revolution and getting comfortable with voluntary growth. Stepping out of your comfort zone is a lifelong practice, and I'm happy to say that it's also a surefire way to add fulfilling new dimensions to your life. Wonderful things happen when you open your heart and mind to new possibilities. For example, people who saw my stage persona often assumed that I was comfortable with being a so called sex symbol. That wasn't the case at all. Being thought of in that way was completely out of my comfort zone. I had to consciously work at being comfortable with that image. A couple of quotes here. I like the fact that she tends to drop these quotes in the middle of her writing. The first one is by Susan Taylor, who I believe was a former editor of Essence magazine. The most sacred place isn't the church, the mosque, or the temple. It's the temple of the body. That's where the spirit lives. The kingdom of God is within you. Luke 17, verse 21. Nichiren. More valuable than treasures in a storehouse are treasures of the body, and the treasures of the heart are the most valuable of all. So, one thing that I notice when people are doing something out of their comfort zone, there will be people that will challenge you about why are you doing this. Um, for me, this is out of my comfort zone. This right here, what I'm doing is out of my comfort zone. But one thing I can tell you since I've been doing it since 2016, it has helped me to be more comfortable talking to other people. It has helped me to be more comfortable in presentation settings because I went from talking on a platform to standing in colleges and universities and speaking to people in groups and in crowds, which was something I had not done before. But this platform enabled me to do it because I got more comfortable with talking to people. I got more comfortable being in front of a camera. Um, I would prefer to just read all my books by myself and enjoy them and take my notes and journal it. That is comfort zone for me. getting online with people, coming onto your screen saying all manner of interesting comments, especially on YouTube, while you're trying to read something out loud is uncomfortable. Some of you are making this more uncomfortable than it needs to be, and I am trying to speak as loudly as I can. Some of you all make this more uncomfortable than it needs to be, but it's okay because guess what? I've learned to deal with the uncomfortableness and I've learned to move forward and continue to do what I know I'm supposed to be doing, right? So Tina says the uncomfortable place for her was being labeled a sex symbol. Let's see what she has to say about that. I didn't want to reject the sex symbol view of me since people seemed to like it. So I decided to make that persona mine. I owned it by playing mostly to my female fans, not to the men in the audience, and I did this for two reasons. I didn't want the women at my shows to feel uncomfortable because they thought I was going after their men. And I wanted to encourage women to reveal their own phenomenal woman, as Maya Angelou wrote in her poem by that name. The truth is, you can challenge yourself to find a higher purpose in anything you do at work or in life. Then you can own it, embrace it, and do your best at it. That is human revolution. Believe it or not, choosing songs for my albums has also been an exercise in growth. There have been songs I initially disliked and didn't want to sing that ultimately became my biggest hits. I had to open my mind partly because I trusted my manager's keen ear for a hit maker, but also because I decided to step outside my comfort zone and give something unfamiliar a chance. When I did that, I began to hear deeper meaning and greater potential in songs that I had rejected hastily. In the process of opening up to something that was initially uncomfortable, I made the songs my own, adding nuances that communicated a different meaning and subtext to my audiences, and expanded the song's potential along with my own. Before committing to a song, I have to visualize how I might perform it on stage. I imagine the song from start to finish before recording a single word. If the song ends up being a hit, I'll have to sing it over and over, and I want to make sure it will have meaning for me and my audiences for years to come. Now, I think that's a great way to choose a song. Going through this process and stretching my boundaries is how I created some of the most successful songs and performances, and I'm grateful that I did. Could you imagine my career without the song What's Love Got to Do with It? That was my biggest hit and by far the most beloved and transformational song for me and for my fans. But it was one of the songs I didn't like when I first heard it. If I hadn't been willing to go outside my comfort zone, open my mind a little wider, and do the extra work it took to make it my song, who knows if I would have broken through in my career. A more recent example, when I was approached with the idea of a musical theater production about my life, I was not interested. There were many reasons for me to say no. I had just retired, and the last thing I wanted was more work. I was a little uncomfortable with the idea of stage actors performing my story. Frankly, I couldn't imagine why people would want to see it. But I decided to venture outside my comfort zone once again and go for it. I'm glad I did. Developing Tina, the Tina Turner musical, turned out to be rewarding and cathartic. It has given me a deeper appreciation of my accomplishments and complete peace with my past. And audiences on both sides of the Atlantic have responded positively. Even this book that you're holding in your hands is an exercise in human revolution. Putting together a spiritual exploration like this has been a dream of mine for decades, but I wasn't sure if I could write this kind of material well, so I held back. Honestly, the voice of a girl who sometimes struggled in school popped into my head and questioned whether I was capable of doing it. I'm grateful for the encouragement of my trusted co authors who supported me to break through my self doubts and have helped me to organize and express my thoughts. Falling in love with my husband Irwin was another exercise in leaving my comfort zone, of being open to the unexpected gifts that life has to offer. The day I first met Irwin at an airport in Germany, I should have been too tired from my flight, too preoccupied with thoughts of my concert tour, and in too much of a hurry to get to my hotel to pay much attention to the young music exec who came from my record company to welcome me. But I did notice him, and I instantly felt an emotional connection. Even then, I could have ignored what I felt. I could have listened to the ghost voices in my head telling me that I didn't look good at all that day, or that I shouldn't be thinking about romance because it never ends well. Instead, I listened to my heart. I left my comfort zone and made it a priority to get to know Irwin. That simple first meeting led to a long, beautiful relationship and my one true marriage. As you can see from my life, human revolution is really just a conscious elevation of your outlook beyond your everyday world and striving to achieve something more expansive and meaningful. It's what happens when you grow beyond your comfort zone. Ask yourself this simple question: will I take a step forward or will I stay where I am now? Your answer to that question, moment by moment, determines your life path. It might seem counterintuitive, but as we discussed in the last chapter, it is precisely when you experience the worst problems and face seemingly impossible odds that you gain the most valuable opportunities to bring about your human revolution, to break through your limitations, and to change poison into medicine. When I was going through some of my hardest times, perhaps it would have felt easier to give in to quick fixes like smoking or alcohol or drugs. Instead, I chose to look inward to tap the wellspring of my greater self. Rather than self medicate, I chose to self motivate. I took action. I went to my spiritual side for help, studying and practicing my faith, which made me strong. And I sought to make my body healthier by researching the best nourishment, a plant based diet, and holistic remedies. I chose self improvement, even if it seemed like the harder path. That's human revolution. I'm not trying to sound like a superhero. There were times when my resolve was challenged and I had to reset. As I write this now in my 80s, I can say to you with absolute assurance that a lifetime can zip by in what feels like only a few turns of a kaleidoscope. Unless we make conscious efforts to achieve our own personal human revolution, too many of us end up spending our precious days just busily running around, but never getting anywhere. We remain stuck in the lower worlds, consumed by ego, fears, and desires in the shallow realm of our lesser self. But when we do our best to lift ourselves up by increasing our self love, thoughtfulness, and kindness in all our behaviors, we can then live out a true revolution of the heart. I believe for much of human history, there has been a common yet diluted belief that the key to happiness is found in controlling or changing our external world, our environment, our economies, our politics, or our social structures. We humans have devoted a lot of time and energy to these endeavors while dedicating far less effort to transforming our internal world, which is what dictates the way we actually live our lives. We end up chasing after things outside ourselves that have little value while disregarding the source of real value, our own hearts. I pray for the day when our collective efforts will correct this imbalance, bring about a valuing of the valuable, and raise the curtain on a global human revolution. She's got a set of three quotes here that we're going to end on today. Margaret Walker: love stretches your heart and makes you big inside. Lucille Ball: I have an everyday religion that works for me. Love yourself first, and everything else falls in line. Creole proverb: tell me who you love, and I'll tell you who you are. All right, we're going to stop there. Um, Tina is going to continue to talk about the idea of revolution so the next time that we read, hopefully on next Friday, we will pick up with her words. Now, I don't know about you, but as I was reading that, I just began to feel more and more elevated as I was reading. It's like hearing her say or confirm some things that I've been thinking for the past decade was very affirming for me. Um, and then hearing her say it in her 80s, and I am in my 40s. Um, Next month, I'll have a birthday. I feel like she's confirming for me that I'm in a good place to learn more and to grow more, but also um, I'm in a young enough space to get further along than maybe what I thought. So that for me was encouraging and empowering. Those of you who have been watching by YouTube, I want to thank you for your time and attention. We're going to continue the talk back over on IG. So if you want to join us, if you'd like to join us on IG, it's at Daring Dialogues. Now, people keep saying no one is hearing my volume, but when I do the playbacks, the volume is fine. So I'm not sure if it's on your end. Maybe you might need to turn your volume up because I am speaking pretty loudly. I'm not whispering. Um, but we're getting ready for the talk back. So if you want to join us on IG, you can hop over to IG and type in at Daring Dialogues, and you'll see us having the talk back. What is the talk back? It's your opportunity to respond to the reading. So if there's something that you got out of the reading and you want to share, we will bring you on and we can talk about it. All right. Take care, everyone. For those I will not see on IG, have a great and wonderful and safe weekend. Be well, and most importantly, be light.